Seems really late.
Hey guys, welcome back into another video on the FBTC Rugby channel. And we're back for a special video today. We're doing a preview for a special game. My team, Leicester Tigers, against Rugby Geeks team, Newcastle Falcons. Hello, Rugby Geeks. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very good, mate. Thanks for having me in. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's always a pleasure having guests on the channel. Guys, let me know, who do you think is going to win in this game? And we're going to go in. First thing, there's been news come out today about Matías Carrera's suspension from the game that be out for 9 weeks. What's your opinion on it?
Look, it's very clear that he has grossly lost context of the game. Okay, to the letter of the law, and the commission have asked for people to use the formal wording from the law. So, you know, I'm not going to say eye gouge because technically it's not an eye gouge. And if you look at the footage, it's not really an eye gouge. He does make contact, intentional contact with the eye, which under 9.12 is a massive no-no. And in any rugby player's book, you know, we've all been gouged once, and it's disgusting. It's despicable. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. That feeling of having your eye pushed back in your socket, and as the blood fills up in your eye, it's horrible. Luckily, this incident is nothing like that. He's flicked his eyelid. But having said that, it's got no place in rugby. Absolutely no place at all. And the sanction is clear and fair, I think.
In my opinion, I think he's, for what he did, because it's clearly obvious, he's looked away. The referee's looked away. I can't remember the referee at the night. Looked away, and he's
Woodhouse,
gone.
wasn't it?
He's gone back in to look at his eyes. That makes it even worse.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's a despicable, heinous event. But if we look at mitigation, we look at his past track record. He's got a completely clean record as a professional player over a number of years. If you've ever been to a disciplinary hearing, I certainly have. I've been on the receiving end of a disciplinary hearing for my naughtiness as a player. It's a harrowing, terrible, horrible place to be, and to have the courage to stand there and say, "Do you know what? I messed up. I made a mistake." I would hasten to bet as well that look back through all the footage. I haven't. I can't be bothered to. I'm not that petty. But I bet your bottom dollar that Bassett has done something to him in the lead up to that's caused the reaction, because you don't just go after somebody's eyes for no reason. So there's more to the story that we'll never know, because nobody's that petty to go and look at it. But look, he's owned up. He made a mistake, and he's faced it like a man. So you have to give him his props for that. And the sanctions are justly delivered.
With all these suspensions happening in the Premiership, we're only I think 2 red cards from what we had last year. I can't remember. It was 12 last year. No, I don't know what we're on at the moment. But they all are, apart from Ollie Forley, all saying the same: we're guilty. Because if you do that, Ollie Forley went from a 2-week suspension to a 4-week because he pleaded not guilty. And I think if you plead guilty, you take your weeks down.
Yeah, well, that's the mitigation, and the mitigation is clear in the law. And does the commission need to have another look at that? Maybe, but for now, that's what the law is. So it's easier to take your licks than plead not guilty. At the end of the day, there are so many cameras there as well. It's almost impossible to plead not guilty.
I know, and with we'll move on in a minute, but with. Especially, there's still cameras there, but it was on the main BT Sport channels. They have double the cameras there than they do at like a BT Sport extra game. Double the cameras. That makes it even worse. So then normally they have 1 or 2 cameras for on the extra channels, but in this you have about 6. So they have about 6 camera angles to look at this one incident. And he's nowhere. He should know this. He's not going to get away with it. And it's nothing for it to be in this game.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. But you know, when you cross the whitewash, you turn into a different person. You know, you're going into battle. You know, you're putting your body on the line physically and mentally. So it's not necessarily always that we as players we'll have a full mental conscious state when we're in the heat of things.
Yeah, we'll finish because that's not the best. Yeah. I know we have to talk about it, but it's not the most positive on a Thursday.
Sadly, not. No.
We will look at the table and the form, guys. I will show you on screen, and Rugby Geeks can see it too. Yeah, you can see it. Can't you?
Yeah.
Looking at Bristol at the top, obviously, of form. We're going to look at number 8 for 9th. Tigers 3 between Newcastle, 3 points difference. One apart from that cancelled game, they've had one cancelled game in the last 5 games and lost the last 3 games and won once. Tigers have had a very interesting thing. They've won 1, drawn 1, won 2. They basically win 1 or they win every other game basically.
Yeah, they're evens, aren't they? 4 and 4.
And so as a Newcastle, we'll start with Newcastle as the away team. Why do you think they had a really good start to the season? Why do you think they've gone down?
Sure. So COVID obviously plays a role in all of this. Cancelled games. I think Newcastle have had at least 3 cancelled games now across the season. Ruins that rhythm. Sorry.
Same as Leicester.
Yeah, 3 cancelled games ruins that rhythm. We've lost some key individuals to the Six Nations, but so have Leicester. But for me, the really big thing that seems to have turned the tide in this whole league is the ring fencing. Newcastle, up until the point where ring fencing in the league was announced, were flying high. They had something to play for. They had something to battle for. They were frightened of the bottom of the table. Now there's no ring fencing. Is there an argument that hunger to stay out of that relegation battle has gone? Possibly. For Leicester, has the pressure of that relegation battle that's been there for a couple of years been relieved? There's an argument with that as well.
I keep saying this just on my channel and other places too. What I think everyone was shocked by how good Newcastle were at the start. I think the relegation has to be taken into part, but I think teams have worked out what their game is and tried to stop it a bit more easily. And I think worked a game plan to try and stop this Newcastle. If you shut down their forward pack, they don't have the backs to play. And I think it's very similar into Leicester, where they have a really good plan A, but they don't have a plan B. I see they can forward bang 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 boo, but I just don't see them plan B. I think that's what Dean Richards needs to do to try and get his team to have a bit, if teams catch him out, to be, if they want to get back into those top 4 places.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've got masses of potential in the backs, and we've got a great backs coach to lead them. And well, to be fair, we've got a phenomenal coaching team. If you look across the board, the people they've worked with or the teams they've worked with, Dean Richards, obviously, we all know from Bloodgate at Leicester, but we don't. He's paid his dues, and we don't tarnish him with that brush anymore. But and certainly wasn't on his own in that particular set of instances. But yeah, look, there's loads of potential there. We just need to untap ourselves a little bit and have a little bit of belief. We tend to play very cagey rugby. We tend to fear the bottom of the table because we have been down there a couple of times, and nobody wants to be in the Championship. I've played at Ampthill. I know how horrible it is to play at Ampthill, and you have to trudge through the woods to get to the pitch. It's not ideal for an elite athlete, and it'll be a real eye opener for some Saracens players this season, like it was for Newcastle last year.
Yeah, I think we are probably I would say we were very lucky not to go down in last year and the year before. But last year, I don't think you're going to see. I'm just going to talk quickly. I don't think you're going to see much rotation in in August, September, and October as we did from Tigers. I don't think you're seeing that. And you're starting to see the benefits of Dan Kelly coming through, George Martin coming through, and Freddie Stewart and Jack Van Portfleet. You're starting to see the rotation is really starting to come through now. And I think that's what the fans have been asking to bring more youth in. And that's what they're starting to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can take nothing away from Geordie. Geordie was a great coach, and he was a great asset to the club for many, many years. I think it was 15 years he was with Tigers. Is that right? Something like that.
For 20 years.
20 years he was with Tigers, 2 decades. Uh, that's a long time to be with one club, and he was an absolute asset there. I think he was under protected from the board as a young director of rugby. I think the board have some answers, some questions to answer around how they delivered rugby for Leicester. Yeah, look, only positives have come in his wake. So, okay, he's had to fall on his sword for Leicester to be successful again. It's good to see them back, because what's the Premier League without a fight in Leicester?
Some people don't like it, but we're starting to be good again. They loved it when we're at the bottom of the table. But I love Geordie. I love everything he did for the club, but he needed some experience around him. I saw as soon as Steve Borthwick came in, it was like Richard Cockrell and Aaron Major all over again. I thought that was happening, 2 different styles, because obviously Steve has said today he wants to play a bit more attacking rugby, but I think Steve wanted to start really play forward base, but Jordan wanted to play more backs game, but I just didn't. I just saw the Cockrell Major fallout happening again. And
I agree with that.
He was right.
Like I say, I don't think the board offered Geordie enough support. As you say, he needed more experience around him, and he needed a bit more protection from the likes of people like Steve Borthwick, who was so well admired as a player and as a coach. But like I say, great things coming from Leicester at the minute. It's always nice when a giant falls. So it was a beautiful thing to see Saracens fall last season. When Leicester had their troubles and looked like they were going down, again, another giant potentially falling, and out of that, fresh stars are born. Bristol Bear, the Bearbacks have done amazing things in the league over the last couple of seasons. Exeter Chiefs, phenomenal, and I see great things coming from Ealing when they come up, because for all intents and purposes, at the minute, the way it looks, Saracens might stay down and Ealing might come up.
I think the whole of the Premiership would love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think everyone would be so happy as Saracens, because I think the punishment they got I think it's more than the worst thing, and we won't talk about it actually now, because you could go on for the conversation fib. But it's interesting. So out of what I told you before, what roughly, as a team doesn't get released till tomorrow, what do you think your team selection is going to look like?
Well, obviously, we're going to be without Carreras. We're without him for 9 weeks. We've touched on that earlier, and I don't think we need to go in any more detail. It's a big game for Newcastle. They desperately need a win. They desperately need some form. I'm not sure if Floodie's available.
As I can find out, he's not available.
He's not available. Well, that's fair enough. So we'll probably start with Hodgson at fly half. I think then we're going to be looking to Mark Wilson to do a lot of the grunt work. He's going to have a big shift to put in against this Leicester pack, as well as Munipola, who desperately needs some fitness. The guy's an animal, an absolute animal, but you can't do more than 25 minutes. It's disappointing to see.
He was used. I don't think Dean Richards is used him to his best, and this is what he does. Well, you saw the back end of Leicester. You saw him by Cockrell used really well. They put him on with 20 minutes to go. That's what they should do. He's a big impact sub. He brings that energy, but it's just you can't start him, and unfortunately you don't have the depth to do that.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the conundrum that Dean's got, and I can understand why he does start him, because he is such a big presence, and he causes mayhem. So if we can get an extra 10 minutes out of him rather than just the 20, then get him used up. Absolutely. And hey, why not steal a tactic from Italy? If he's not got it in the tank for 60 minutes, then let's use him for 35 minutes at the start of the game, and we'll pull him off, and we'll use somebody else to get us to the end.
I know, and I do think there's one guy we'll go on to Leicester now. I think a guy that is straight and he's determined to see on the good, bad, and the rugby. He's determined to prove his haters wrong this weekend. Is Ellis Genge. He is determined.
Yeah, look, Genji's had a bit of a bit of a show this week, and look, as I said earlier, when you cross the whitewash, you go into a field of battle. It's like the Somme out there sometimes, and if you're up against a rival like England, Ireland are, then you're going to get niggle. And if Sexpest is stupid enough to hold on to him, then Sexpest is going to get a little bit of shoving.
We're going off a little bit, but we'll continue. Saw again because it's Ireland. They don't actually look what he does. He's pulling him down like that, and that's what the referee in the TMO saw. That's why nothing excited. I don't think people realize that. And the beast, he's not found. He got pulled down. He couldn't get up. If he really wanted to do something, he would have got punched in the face.
Indeed.
If he really wanted to do something. And Ellis Genge I've seen it Leicester, spoke to him before, and he is a very nice guy, and he would not do that on purpose.
No. I agree. Look, again, when we're in the heat of battle, we don't always have our full conscious state with us. We can have tendencies to become a little bit animalistic, and when you're trying to wriggle free because you've got to fight for your inside man for the next phase, you'll do what it takes to get free, and that's all Ellis Genge was doing. I see no problem. The committee have reviewed the footage, and the citing has been overturned, so he's not been cited, and rightly so.
I think I just think Ireland fans are a bit salty.
Yeah, look, we're in an era where we look and scrutinise every inch of every game because we're lucky enough to have the ability to do that, and everybody will look and scrutinise their opposition to no end and find a fault and scream and shout about it because that's what fans do, and that's what's so beautiful about the game.
Yeah, I do think that. We'll talk on a thing. I think just for us, I know roughly because Steve Borkwood does the press conference every week, and I can't find anything about Dean Richards' injuries. Montoya's out with looks like it could be till the end of the season. Weezer's back this weekend. Youngs looks like he's going to be back, and Ford looks like he's going to be back, and they'll bring the rest of the players, Maroney, and other players back too.
Yeah, I mean, a full strength Leicester side is going to be a lot for Newcastle to handle, and if they can fire on all, I mean, on paper, you look at their squad, and if they can fire on all cylinders, there's no way they should be in the position they are. But they are, because they don't quite gel together as a team. They're a bit like the Belgian football team. On paper, you've got all the superstars from around the world all gathered into one place, but they don't quite gel on the pitch, and that's why they don't quite make it anywhere. And it's the same with this Leicester team. They've got all the world superstars all gathered in one place, but they just don't quite gel.
I think you're starting. No, I would say now they're starting to gel. They got starting. They brought a Saracens culture, even though they spent the money. That was due to the owners, probably. The coach, but Steve Borkwood, the board, Tigers board won't let that happen. They would not let that happen now.
No, well, they're a limited company in the first place, aren't they? So, they've only got a limited amount of funds, and they have stakeholders to satisfy and profit to make. So they can't run around with a checkbook like Bristol and Saracens did. I
think one of the finds of the season for us personally, I think, has been Maroney in a 5-day. I spoke to you. Check out the video with Yamagin's head of recruitment.
Yeah,
but they were so impressed they've been able to find Weezer in Moreno, because those have been 2 signings. Obviously, Wiggy too, and that's talked about a lot. But Moreno has made such a difference in our defence. We haven't seen the attacking ability of him yet. And Weezer, I saw a stat the other day. I retweeted. He makes the most meters per carry in the Premiership.
Yeah. not surprising as well. Absolute animal. Drives himself around the park with great authority, and it's good to see. And an absolute great signing. And Leicester do make good signings. They do good business when the opportunities are available to them. Now they've got the right coaching structure, and as you say, that Saracens culture, and it's culture is a term we coaches use from elite level all the way down to the under sevens at Old Pisporians. Like culture. We've got to find the right culture, and it is a massive part of the game. And Saracens did it fantastically. They used to have coffee mornings where it'd be an absolute safe zone, and they could say whatever they wanted to each other with no repercussions, and nobody was allowed to sort of bring anything up after. That sort of ability to air your grievances and get it out there, and then in a completely safe environment, and fix the issue is huge for clubs, because a lot of clubs, like, you have to think these teams are playing week in, week out. They train day in, day out. We all have a little bit of niggle in our office with people. When you add physicality to that and testosterone, that niggle gets pretty serious pretty quickly. So having somewhere where you can do that and get rid of that is great. And it's working for Leicester.
I know it is working, and I don't think we haven't gelled yet. And I say this to people, but unsurprisingly, how well we're doing without our internationals this year. Considering we've only had George Ford, Ben Youngs, and Ellis game for one Premiership game this year, it's outstanding where we are. And I'm not trying to be up. Obviously, some fans are getting a bit too keen, but all I want to see is just seeing improving, and we are. We've improved a lot better than I think. And this is the difference between last year. We would be happy to beat London Irish, whatever the score was. This year, and Gloucester, we weren't happy at all. We were played badly, but we still won. I think that's the difference between this year and last year. We lost. No, we won when we've been playing bad. Last year, we would have lost those two games.
Yeah. I mean, it's a sign of a team in form if you can win a game that you don't play your best in. If you can grind it out and batter through. I mean, you look at Wasps against Newcastle last week. They didn't play particularly well. Neither side played particularly well, but they did phenomenally well in the second half to hold Newcastle pointless and win the game by 2. So yeah, being able to stay in a game and win games dirty or win games badly is a sign of a team in form.
I think if we keep if we can keep our discipline down, we have a big chance of, because when our discipline's been bad, we've lost games. When our discipline's okay, we've won games. I think that's the difference at the moment between our sides. I think last week they would not have won that game without Joe Launchbury there or Alfie Barbary.
No. I agree that Launcher's had a great game. He is a phenomenal player. He's unfortunate that he's got some great second row around him in the world at the moment, and he's not getting those chances with England. But look, he's always going to be in and around that squad because he is such a phenomenal talent. He was part of the reason that Newcastle weren't able to hold on at the end.
We've got 2 more bits to go. We'll do predictions in a minute, and then we're key battles in this game. What are your? I'll go. You do the forwards because you seem I think you do 2 battles for the forwards, and I'll do 2 battles for the backs. What are your 2 forward battles?
Well, Munipola and Genge are probably going to be. I can't remember if Munipola's a tight or a loose now, but I think he might be.
They'll play each other in the scrum.
Yeah, he is tight. Yeah, that's going to be a key battleground early in the game. I think Genge has got that. I think he'll have Munipola wrapped up pretty early on. You'll probably find that Newcastle will concede a couple of penalties early doors where Munipola doesn't quite get his bind right, and he'll get turned in and collapse. The other key battleground is going to be Mark Wilson. He's basically going to have to take on the forwards on his own, because he's Newcastle's key strike man up front. His work rate off the ball, unseen, is outrageous. It's absolutely phenomenal, and that's going to be the key to Newcastle holding Tigers down for as long as they can. But I can't see them holding them down for the whole game.
I think Weezer versus Mark Wilson, and I think Tigers have got a very similar player that is similar to Mark Wilson is in Hammer Leonberg. I think they're very similar. They cover across the whole back row. They work great. They make turnovers. They make tackles. They carry hard. I think he was captain last week, and in my opinion, he could be a future captain of Leicester Tigers. Good seeing he's in that leadership group.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll talk about backs, and you comment. I think the battle of the tens is going to be important. With George Ford coming back, he's been under scrutiny. Should have been dropped for Marcus Smith. We'll find out in the summer if players are going to be rested, and talk about Smith coming in. And that's another subject for another day. But I think Ford versus Hodgson's going to be key. I think the territory battle, I think this is the fun. Ford did it against Bath, his only game this year, and he took Anthony Watson into a new area with those spiral bombs. I don't know if you saw it, but he kicked it. Watson didn't have a clue where it was going.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is going to be a key battleground. In the backs, your 10 is your fat controller. He controls the game, and Ford commands that in phenomenal fashion. For me, arguably the world's best 10 at the moment. The way he reads the game and conducts play around the field. You watch him watch the game unfold. He reads the game 4 phases in front of him, which is as a 10 at that pace of game is pretty tricky to do. So I think you're right. Territory is going to be a huge thing. Newcastle won't look to play in their own half. This is absolutely going to be a relegation rugby style from Newcastle. So Hodgson is going to have to find the space in behind Leicester, and I think Ford will do that more successfully.
And I do think it's another. It's not going to be my second battle, but Stewart. This is, I think, the difference. Stewart will command that. I don't think they're going to find space. He's got long boots on, and he's so good in the air. Okay, he'll drop one, get once every blue moon like I did last week, but 95% of the time he'll catch the ball. And he's improving the game because he's starting to beat defenders as well.
It'll be interesting to see how Newcastle play the aerial game against Leicester, because historically, when we had the likes of Hammersley and players of a similar ilk, we would run for first phase, box second phase. That would be our tactic. And Mickey's a decent kicker of the ball from the box. He kicks to compete. So he will be very useful in that aerial battle. But it'll be interesting to see whether we want to put Ford under any sort of scrutiny with the boot. I would say leave well alone. If they give us the ball, run it back, take the possession.
This is a problem. If you give Ford an opportunity to kick, you're in big danger because he can see through that defence. He's one of the best people, in my opinion. He can see the vision. He's got great eyes on him. And both Stewart and I think Ford will go up, and you saw it against Bath. Stewart will catch it. I think if they allow Stewart and Ford to get going in the kicking area, and Ben Youngs it's on and off days for him. Recently in the Tigers shirt, as this season, we haven't seen a lot of him, but he had a good game against Bath. But I think they can't allow Stewart and Ford to get their territory game going, or it could be a very long afternoon for this Falcons team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a long afternoon regardless. Predictions aside, but I agree. If the territory game comes into play, then it's Ford's to lose. But like I say, I would like to see this Newcastle side move away from relegation rugby. Let's get 2 phases under the belt. Let's see if we can do something with the ball first. If there's nothing on, then we go to the boot. But at the minute, all teams that play this relegation rugby style, where we just don't play in our own half, will only go 1 phase before the boot's employed and deployed rather. And go on.
I'll just go on my second battle. Moreno,
go for it.
Orlando. I'm guessing Orlando's fit, and they'll go Bro and Orlando. So Moreno versus Orlando, both Argentine, know each other well. I think that'll be a very good battle. They know each other.
Yeah, both quality players. The Pumas are on the up and up at the minute. They're developing a very, very good brand of rugby, and they're producing some fantastic players that luckily we're getting over here in the Premiership.
Yeah, I do think with Montoya, Moreno, and other players do coming out. Unfortunately, Lavalier is off. So we're going to go on to the big we've all been waiting for. What are your predictions?
It's going to be a horrid day at Welford Road for Newcastle, I think. I can't see on Newcastle's recent form without the likes of Flood. I would love to see him go back to his former club. I won't call it his home club because we had him first. It's going to be a long afternoon for Newcastle. I predict a 10-point loss.
I think that Tigers will click. I think Ford will want to come and do things. I think if this is the thing, if Ford, this team need a bonus point. They really do need a bonus point because they've hardly got any this year. And I think Tigers are going to win it by 14. I think the back end, I just don't see with injury. Both teams suffering with injuries at the moment and suspensions. I think both teams will miss them, but I just feel at 10 and just think Mark Wilson at the end will just retire doing all that work rate and trying to do it all for Newcastle. I think just two tries at the end will take it away from them. Yeah,
I think so. Look, it's very. The boys from Leicester that have been in the England squad have had a long, hard, grueling Six Nations, and it's whether they come out of that feeling up for this, or whether they come out of that feeling absolutely battered. If they're not in the right headspace coming into this game, it could go either way. But I can't see how they can lose this game.
I think listening to George Ford, listening to Genji, they are really in the right place. They want to prove people wrong. They want to prove fans wrong. They want to prove we are the right man and impress Eddie Jones, and we are the right people to take this team forward. And I think that's what I can tell, what I've seen and what I've heard from the players. I think that's the mindset they're in. They want to tell you we are right to play. And I don't think if they weren't in the right to play, I don't think Steve Borthwick would play them.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't think I think you're going to see later on with the season, Ford rested against Worcester and one other team. The England boys will be rested then. But overall, thanks again for coming on the channel, Rugby Geeks. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, guys, and we'll finish it there.